Hello and welcome to another episode of the Plus 63 HP podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Clemente. Alongside with me is my bestest best friend, Chubax. How are you doing?
I am back. I missed this last week.
We are,
Or two
yeah,
weeks?
we are
2 weeks
back
or something? Yeah.
a week-ish, but now we're back to full strength. So we will have a full slate of new shows and movies to review this week. But if this is your first time watching our show or listening to our show, welcome. Thank you very much for the view and the listen. Again, we would like to encourage you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plus 63HP. There you will find a stable of different shows, including this one, our review show, where we, as a group, deep dive and provide our opinion on a particular episode of a cool series that we're watching, new movies that have dropped either on the cinemas or on demand, and we provide our ratings as we discuss said shows and movies. Those tend to come out Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we have our very first D&D campaign, where us middle-aged old men finally played our or finally is playing our very first D&D campaign. We have been having fun. Our first campaign is it's almost a year and a half years old now, so such a wild ride. We record it, we put it on the YouTubes for posterity, and we share it to the world. And hopefully, you can join in our adventure. On Thursdays, we watch a curated list of trailers, featurettes, short videos, and we see how hyped we are for that particular content to be dropping soon. And if you want to find out what cool movies, shows, and video games are coming down the pipe, join us on our React show that drops usually on Thursdays. On Fridays, Chubax and our other best friend RJ, they can't get enough of D&D, so they spun a second campaign where they are bad guys, and those episodes drop every Friday. So every day of the week, you should have new content that you could enjoy with your friends and family and with us. So don't also forget to interact with us in any of our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter with the handle at plus 63HP. And if you don't want to watch us on demand, if you don't want to see our faces, you could also subscribe to our shows, our podcasts in any of your podcast app of choice: Apple, Spotify, Amazon. With that, we are just going to go straight in the movie that we are discussing for this week. It has dropped on demand a few weeks ago, but this is a movie that has come out earlier this year. We will be discussing the latest M. Night Shyamalan drop adaptation of a book. The book is called The Cabin at the End of the World, but the movie is Knock at the Cabin. Before we dive into the synopsis and discuss the details and what we think about said movie, Chubax, non-spoilery review. What did you think about Knock at the Cabin?
I enjoyed it.
Oh,
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
surprising cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I was curious what you were going to give it as a review because
I mean, I came in
I
with
it was
low
okay,
expectations
right?
already, so that could have helped. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed. It was okay, you know. So for me, it's something where could it have been better? Of course. But was it bad? Not at all. So it's something that if we're on Netflix or some free streaming service, yeah, it could be in my list to watch with like friends and family as well. All right. Without further ado, we're just gonna dive in. Few stats on the movie. Again, directed by M. Night Shyamalan
Mm-hmm.
of Unbreakable, Signs, The Happening
Sixth
fame,
Sense.
Av- Sixth Sense, Avatar, The Last Airbender. Forgot about that. Um, uh, it's based out of Paul G. Tremblay's book, The Cabin at the End of the Woods, adapted by M. Night Shyamalan, Steve Desmond, and Michael Sherman to a screenplay. Stars Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldridge, Nikki Amuka Bird, Kristen Cui, Abby Quinn, and Ron Weasley himself, Rupert Grint. Uh, the again released January 30th as a smaller release, but available throughout the United States on February 3rd. So yeah, it's only been a little over a month when it came out. So it's good that we can already see it on demand. This is the cool part about it. Runtime of 100 minutes, right? 100 minutes, tight, under 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some episodes of television can be this long, so this is pretty great. And it kind of felt like it, but it only had a $20 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was like pretty surprised that it only had a $20 million budget. And the box office, as of this recording, have ticket sales have been $53.8 million. So, with our Hollywood calculator of two like or
2 to 3 times.
200 times your production budget, so it's kind of in the good realm. Not great, because hopefully it was like 16 more. That would have been a clear indication that it was a really good movie. But 53.8, a little under 200%. The production is good. Very simple plot, right? Wen and her adoptive parents, Eric and Andrew, are in a remote cabin in rural Pennsylvania. Wen is approached by Leonard Brock, played by Dave Bautista, wanting to be friends. Pretty cool. And then of course, Wen got scared, went back to his dad's, tried to say there's a scary man that was trying to get in. They wanted to talk to them, etc., etc. Leonard and his companions, Sabrina, Adrian, and Redmond, played by Nikki Amuka Bird, Abby Quinn, and Rupert Grint, and they forcefully put themselves in the cabin, right? Get into the cabin. After a lot of talking, Leonard and his companions kind of just wanted a little audience with the two dads, saying that, hey, two dads, you have a very important decision to make. They can't make the decision for you. It's going to be real. It's going to sound crazy, but they'll just show, how important this decision is. And the decision was one of them should kill or should sacrifice one of their family members. So either Eric, Andrew, or Wen, one of them should sacrifice one of those three in order to prevent the apocalypse, the end of the world. Of course, dads Eric and Andrew didn't believe at first. But surprisingly, in order to prove how grave this decision is, the group then killed with Rupert Grint's sacrifice, killed one of the intruders, to show that every time that one of them dies, the intruders, a plague across the world happens.
Is unleashed.
So this particular is unleashed. So this particular plague was a tsunami that hit like the
Well, an
northwest
earthquake that
corner
resulted in a tsunami.
in the tsunami that resulted into catastrophic events in the northeast corner of the United States. Of course, there's details around how to make the movie a little bit more suspenseful and thrilling. Daddy Eric is the
Eric is jumping
skeptical one,
off.
right? Or Andrew?
Andrew's the one. Eric's the
Okay,
one
so
with
Andrew,
the concussion, if I'm correct.
I got it. All right. So Daddy Andrew was skeptical about what had happened. So he was the one that provides proof that this wasn't really a natural disaster. This was either timed or a coincidence, because of course this particular first plague, the tsunami, the earthquake had happened 4 hours ago. So he could have calculated when that super wave will be hitting the United States. Of course, there was like another twist about a second earthquake, a bigger earthquake happening that caused even more death in the Pacific Northwest, but they didn't want to get into that. So we continue on the pattern. The things like I didn't get the cadence. I think it's every 6 hours or 12 hours that they do this, but every
No,
12 hours.
I think it was ramping up because the next day they had three na.
Yeah, so maybe like
Very
12 and
Maybe eight and
six,
then
and then
six and four
three.
or something
Yeah,
like that.
right. So okay, so there's intermittent breaks, but every time, every time they say that we're gonna ask you again, and if you say no another time, we're gonna unleash another plague. So we continue on pre-scheduled plagues. The next one was um Adrian, right? Adrian was this server, line cook. Um she was a little bit more straightforward. She didn't want to die. She didn't want to sacrifice herself, but they've been all been seeing this vision of what's going to happen if they didn't make the choice
Mm-hmm.
about, and then all of them were doing it because they had someone that they loved. They wanted to protect somebody they love, so they'd rather either die or kill somebody else in order to prevent the apocalypse. So that's how the four intruders got together, because they met each other at a message board, talking about this particular vision that they're having, that's like ruining their life. So Adrian had a kid, or says that he had a kid. She didn't want to die, but if they said no again, she was next. Of course, Daddy Eric and Andrew said no again. Adrian was killed, and then the second plague was a plague, or a pandemic that hit kids very,
Sending the
very
law.
aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Again, Daddy Andrew insists that it's was coincidental. This virus, they've been tracking it for months, so they kind of knew that it was going to be. So probably Leonard and the crew thought that they could time when these pre-scheduled broadcasts will be up on TV to scare them even further. Right. Moving on again. Uh, there's a few attempts at an escape, um, uh, after the second plague was released. Uh, Wen was able to kind of like sneak out and distract the people, even provide the Daddy Eric with a knife so that he can start cutting himself out, and then they could work their way to the car. But you know essentially what happens is, Andrew was able to escape, go to the trunk of their car, get their gun, um, and kind of injure or at least scare off Sabrina, one of the remaining two people.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of scuffling happened, but in the end, uh, Sabrina was fatally shot, um, uh, during the confrontation again. And which is weird. This is where it's kind of like, they just let Leonard just further kill Sabrina and quote unquote sacrifice Sabrina as the latest no. And this is where more and more of the plagues that were happening
No,
became
this
a
is
little bit.
the planes. The planes are dropping.
Exactly. So it's like, it becomes a little bit more harder,
Obvious. Harder to
and
deny.
a little bit harder to plan, or a little bit harder to become a coincidence, because hundreds of planes just started dropping out of the air, crashing, killing thousands of people, kind of like the fingers of God scraping the earth. Um, and this is where Daddy Eric, starts believing a little bit, or thinking a little bit harder before. Um, Initially, they wanted to cage Eric in the Leonard, the final captor, in the bathroom, but deftly was able to kind of fool Eric and Andrew that he was able to escape, but instead he was just hiding behind the
The
shower
curtain.
curtain, and was able to kind of like wrestle the gun back to him. But in the end, they started talking. Leonard started like explaining why he was doing it, what he was protecting. He was just like a regular dude that, regular dude that coaches kids
Grade
youth
school kids.
basketball.
Yeah.
Mhm. In the end, uh, Leonard also kills himself, saying that, "Hey, I'm the last person. Once I die, you only have a few minutes to kind of stop all of this." So Leonard slices his own throat. Eric starts to believe, because the next plague that had happened now are lightning strikes. Lots and lots of lightning strikes, causing lots and lots of fires, including near and around their cabin. And then this is finally where Eric kind of realized that When he was knocked out or his concussion, he was seeing visions, seeing a person, and then he realized that person was Andrew and Wen. But Wen was a lot older, um, kind of saw a glimpse of the future, what had happened. Eric and Andrew starts like because of the fires happening, and then they're starting to believe all of these things are really going to kill them. Or Andrew thinking like, hey, either it's we can't stop it, or maybe this is the way that the end of the world has been happening for millennia. There's always a family that's being chosen, and then that family chooses to sacrifice themselves, and the world goes on. They realize that Eric kind of like puts two and two together, that the four people, Leonard, Sabrina, Redmond, and Adrian, they were the four horsemen of the apocalypse. They had certain themes of what they were doing that kind of like alluded to it, and they were kind of the ones that were ushering the end of the world or could stop it as well. So Eric and Andrew fought for a very long time who was going to be sacrificed. Like, Andrew wanted Eric to kill
Mm-hmm.
him, but Eric understood like no, he was the one who saw uh
The
yeah, he
future.
was the one who saw it, the future, and he was already kind of able to experience and see their daughter grow happy and then become like a wonderful father and daughter. And Eric dies. The plagues slowly stop.
Abruptly, actually.
Andrew, yeah.
Abrupt, very
And
fast. Stop.
Uh, but Andrew and Wen was able to commandeer, Leonard's truck. They were able to kind of confirm that all the things that Leonard, Adrian, Sabrina, and Rodman were saying about themselves were kind of true. Um, like Sabrina being a nurse, Adrian having a kid, and Redmond being working at a power plant. Um, they stopped by a local diner to grab a little bit of a bite. In the diner, they see all the plagues starting to stop on TV, people getting to starting to have hope again, and everybody's just calling their loved ones while they can because they know that the world can end at any moment. And they when and Andrew drive off to the sunset, and that is
Yes, that is
Knock at the Cat.
Nakataka.
Chubax. Thoughts?
Oh, I loved Batista. He's just the perfect cast, the perfect guy for this. He's a perfectly cast as the scary guy, but everything he does
Nice guy.
is opposite of how he looks. It's like really like don't judge a book by its cover. And it was really nice. And I mean, this it's not epic like a la Signs.
Yeah.
This is more like, I don't know how you describe it. It's more like like how I like the Netflix show Criminal. It's
I
like
haven't seen.
you've seen the interrogation where the
Oh,
scenes
the
are just,
interrogation. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
the scenes are just the interrogation box, the viewing room, and the hallway. That's the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
more like, this is more like that, like a study of human character instead of like an epic movie and story. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just enjoyed the situations, like four guys trying to do the right thing and had a hard
Trying to
job.
prove that.
They had a
Yep.
hard job because they couldn't kill them. They didn't want to kill them. They didn't want to hurt them, but they had to convince these two, not the kid, these two adults, that they had to do this thing or the world will end. And I mean, it was, for me, it was a performance like, they weren't menacing. They were afraid. They were scared, and I think that was what drove, that really made it real. Like, because they were trying to show red herrings, like this could be a fake or a
Mm-hmm.
setup, or but them, they were more scared than
Yep.
the family that was captured. So and that's what I liked. And I like there were like we see Eric all believing them very fast. And his descent into not descent, but he's coming around to their belief in a nice slope up. and
Mhm.
we made it look like Eric or Andrew, who's been antagonistic and trying to think. But I think underneath he was also believing it the same way. But his the way he reacts to it is just in denial, and trying to think
Yeah.
his way out.
He's had his own, again, a big storyline. It was that you can't really suss out in the plot synopsis, or in a synopsis, is like Andrew was attacked at the Boston bar, and then Redmond was the guy that attacked him. So it was kind of like, oh, maybe this is a revenge setup
Mm-hmm.
scare tactic, because he pressed charges against that person that attacked him
Getting
at
killed.
the bar too. So maybe that was, that's super highly coincidental if that had happened, right? So
I also appreciated that when they were trying to sprinkle in doubt with that O'Bannon, Redmond, and then
mhm.
they went with the believable thing of the what was the term? The message board. As soon as they said it, oh shit,
Oh yeah,
maybe it could be
form
right. Because all the conspiracy stuff, its own message board
shared
thing, like
delusion.
yeah, so stuff like that. So it's possible, but for me, it's always when I go back to them four and they believe that they were scared that that's where it went, and I just Batista, like every time they kill someone, they sacrifice, they would throw up and they would shake and cry because they don't want to do this shit, and I also love the kind of mini twist where they because it didn't dawn on me that the four horsemen thing.
Yeah,
I know
until
it should be obvious now, but it didn't dawn on me that they were the four horsemen. But the way that Eric interpreted it, where he said that they were also showing us what we're saving, humanity. That was like the guide, the teacher, the healer, the
the healer, the
nurturer,
nurturer,
even the bad
right?
side, the malice. That's why their colors were like that, diba? The red, white.
Mhm.
So, and I love that the twist was there was no twist. It really is what it is, and they had an impossible choice. I mean, it's as I said, it's not epic like Signs or anything in the end, but it was a nice, enjoyable, well acted, well shot. I wasn't wowed like some of the shots that we get from M Night, but I also wasn't distracted like some of M Night's. Sometimes his wow shots are combined with like what the fuck, like that was a bad shot. I mean, i.e., you can say Air Avatar. There were some obvious dialogue shots there. That was like, what the hell was he thinking? This does not look. But this one pretty straightforward. Some nice shots in there, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
See, that's, I think, again, off the top of the episode, we kind of discussed, like, I enjoyed the movie. It was fun. It's an hour. It was tight. Um, it again, the thing that the M Night Shyamalan brand brings to movies is you always expect a twist.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire movie, not to his own fault, I've always just been expecting, is it a shared delusion? Is it
The
a,
setup,
a
setup, or
giant plot to have
prank.
revenge on somebody that pressed charges against you, right? You're like 100% right. Like, Batista is turning to be like a really, really solid actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer just like an action star. Like, this is full on. Not a lot of action here. Him just talking nicely as well. So imagine like a giant ass dude filled with tattoos, trying to be super respectful and nice, and it's coming across, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
good. So, but again, I as much as I like the movie, you know, again, the problem with an M Night movie is just like it can't be just okay for me. Like, I want I want that big twist. I want that unique perspective that, oh, I didn't think about that, on how that could happen. Um, which is not this movie's fault, because again, like, I didn't understand the four horsemen as well until they themselves said it in the movie, which is, one of our rules is, show not tell. But nobody, like 90% of the people wouldn't really put that together.
But it's have been kind of obvious, Apocalypse, Four Horsemen, like different
I
things.
well again, a lot of people aren't Catholic, right? So they wouldn't have that angle. They wouldn't even have to think about that. But again, that was yeah, it's a nice movie. I enjoyed it a lot. But that's the thing. It's just okay, right? It was again, if it were any other director, I would have been fine with just like, oh, it's straight. Yeah, okay, cool. I get it. It's there four people sacrifice themselves to save the world. And then one family made the ultimate sacrifice, albeit a little too late. Like they could have saved hundreds of thousands of people, but like, okay, fine, whatever. But that's the idea where, taking away that the kid Wen
Well,
was like a great
if it
actress.
was my family, I'd make sure. So I wouldn't. I'd need to see proof those people dying. Like I wouldn't sacrifice it for nothing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I was also doing that. It's like, yeah, I'd probably one of those like, I love the Andrew pitch where like, what if it is true? Then it's us three against the world. We'll walk the earth just with you. It's like I would have done that as too. That would have been my response as well. But it's more of like, yeah, they really need to see a plague that cannot be staged. Because like, yeah, there's always like coincidence. That tsunami happened 4 hours
No, but I
ago.
think I just went to Wiki and I checked the book also in the story, and it ended differently. So
Hmm.
spoilers for the book. In the book, there's at by the end there was a scuffle, and Wen is killed, the daughter.
Oh.
The daughter's killed, and I'm not sure. I missed if uh I think Sabrina kills Leonard or something like that, but Leonard dies
Mm.
first, and then Sabrina abandons the mission and shows the Eric and Andrew the car, then kills herself, and then Eric and Andrew say, but I know the apocalypse wasn't killed because Wen wasn't a willing sacrifice.
Yeah. So it just
So
continued.
so they're like, yeah, fuck this, we're together, and I think that's a good compliment. This makes it the movie a little better too because in the movie
Alternative.
there's a daughter. For me also, I mean, if I have a daughter, I wouldn't want her to live in a post-apocalyptic world.
Mhm.
So I would rather sacrifice myself. But if it's just me and my wife, I fuck everything else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, fuck it. Like,
That's a good. Okay, that's a
let's
good
roll
angle
the
to it.
world.
Like,
You know,
yeah, but yeah, it's
especially
like again.
with Eric seeing the future of when being successful and
Uh,
happy.
yeah.
So there's that. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
just
Yeah,
makes it.
it's like the movie was just pretty straightforward. It's a
Mhm.
good thriller. It's a again. I like what you mentioned. It's a character study. It's just like how many like six people in a room talking, making their pitch, kind of like a weird version of Shark Tank. So it's great. I enjoy that. They had a killer. Like one is adorable. I
Mhm.
like her as a child actress. Daddy Eric and Daddy Andrew was believable, right? They were able to kind of like drop the hints of all of these bigotry of like around same sex marriages, etc., etc. So like, all right, cool. I get it. It's like it's a well polished 100-minute movie, um, that is good, right? So the greatest, probably not. But the idea of it's like this is something that if you're in the mood for a quick suspense thriller movie, this is not a bad choice. You're not gonna regret spending your time here.
I mean,
So with that,
even Rupert Grint, like the asshole of the group, he wasn't evil. You know what I mean? He was just like he was a scared guy who was slashing out. But even when he was about to die, he was like, I don't, was that they're not gonna make a decision? They're angry and they of course they should
they're
be.
angry and they're scared.
They should be. You know, I would be too. Like something like that.
Like, and even
So
his last words, like, you better look at this, Gina, look away.
I know
I
I'm
was like,
dying for you. Like yeah, that was good too. So yeah.
and I think that's how they were able to keep the budget low because Rupert Grint was the first to die. Right?
Yeah.
Arguably the biggest name.
Uh,
in this movie, right? So I was like, oh, okay. Maybe it was like, oh, you only have to do work for like 2 days.
uh,
2 days of work, and work will kill you and you're good. All right. I'll start and then you can close out with your final thoughts in the movie. My rating for it is I'm gonna give it a 7. Like it's a kind of like a very low 7, very high 6. It's a solid thriller. Acting was great. I just can't shake off the idea of like I wanted a bigger twist. Maybe now that you've mentioned the ending of the book, maybe they could have done like an alternative ending kind of
mm,
thing. That would be surprising for me. But either way, it's a solid movie, great acting. Um, uh nice interpretation of the end of the world where like imagine maybe every 100 years a family will have to go through this ultimate sacrifice for everybody else and
yeah.
nobody knows what they sacrificed for us to continue living. So I do like that fact as well. How about you, Bada?
I'll go with an 8. I mean, I was a 7 also, but discussing it and reading seeing how the book went, and I just enjoyed, and especially Batista, and every scene he was there. I just like I like Leonard. Like I feel sad for him and stuff. But yeah, and I do enjoy the twist that there is no twist.
Mm.
Some stories are also, especially lately, just a lot of trying to be too smart, convoluted, and this one was just a nice. I mean, if you
Straight.
have it was a nice premise to, like, you got four people trying to do the good thing, which was a bad thing that is a good thing that
Mhm.
they don't want to, but they need to, and then two adults who are like given an unbelievable choice that you can't even accept if it's real. So it's like,
Mhm.
and then they're bumping each other. So yeah, I'll go with an 8.
Yeah, and yeah, all of this just to say it's available on demand. Should be able to be in. You can watch it probably another month or two in streaming service. When you guys get to watch it again and want to discuss with us, hopefully you'll hop onto our any of our channels and discuss with us, interact with us. Again, reminder, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/plus 63HP. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you know when our many shows drop. And we're on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram with the handle at +63HP. And again, you can also subscribe to us and listen to us on your favorite podcasting app of choice. We particularly like Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. With that, we do have a very packed week this week. We're going to have multiple reviews. The Last of Us is winding down, so we're reviewing that. Mandalorian just started, so
Ramping
every
up.
episode we're reviewing that as well. So with that, we'll see you in our other shows. Thank you very much for watching. On behalf of Chubax, see you in the next video.
Bye bye.